Hello YouTube, this is Metal Trooper 62, and here I have my Serbian PAP M92 AK pistol. Finished. I redid the handguards and I added the Bulgarian style 4-piece flash hider with the detent plunger set. So this is pretty much what it looks like. I like the Russian type of reddish color, and just for those safety people, there's nothing in there. But anyway, I went with the what's called a Garnett de-wax shellac, and I'll get into the whole shellac thing here after I get done with this. But this was actually a fairly long process, so if people do not have patience with this, then it's best to just kind of either buy pre-finished stock sets or handguards or whatever, or take your time and do it. But this right here, you can see this little spot right here. This retainer fit in this lower handguard so tight that I had to actually tape that off. And I'm probably going to have to end up doing something with that because I have OCD and that's going to bother me. So, but other than that, it turned out really good. I mean, it's shiny and stuff right now, but after time of handling it and taking it out and shooting, it's gonna wear in pretty nice. Side, but yeah, it's came out pretty good. There are some spots that my camera would freaking focus. There are some spots that came out kind of a little bit wavy where I got a little bit, in a hurry and stuff. But I didn't really care for the wood that was on here. I mean, it was nice wood and that. It was unfinished, so it was getting dirty and everything, which what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to probably buy another set of these hand guards just as a spare, and I'll probably just leave those as they are. But you can see like some of the spots where the shellac didn't take real well, like on some of the edges and stuff. But for the most part, it came out pretty nice looking. And like I mentioned before, I like that reddish type of, like some of the older Russian AKs had. I kind of like that color. So, and then they have different types. There's Russian red, there's Russian iodine orange, and a few other ones. Now, a place that, I mean, if you are interested in getting a stock set, that's finished in shellac, which that's how most AK stocks, com block stocks were refinished. I know some of the stocks were painted or had like a coat of polyurethane on them, but the shellac is more old school, I guess you could say. But I like it a lot. And like I was getting ready to say, if you don't have the patience for this, Block Customs is actually they do some amazing stock sets. And actually the guy that owns Block Customs, he gave me a lot of tips on how to do this. Because actually, I had to end up doing this stock set twice, or this handguard set twice, because what I did was I initially did the parts right. You put on a couple coats, and then you let it sit 24 hours. You take some super fine steel wool, you brush it up and everything, wipe it down, use a tack cloth to get all the little dust particles, and then you do the same thing until you have the desired color that you want. This probably has about 10 or 15 coats on it because of how the darkness I wanted it. The Garnett shellac that I use is kind of an amberish brown, I guess you could say. It's kind of got a warm brown amber colors. But, you know, like the first 3 or 4 coats, I mean, since the wood was not finished, the wood was just sucking it up. So that's why it took me, 10 or 15 coats of it. And so what I did was, after I get done the desired color that I wanted and everything, I let the stock set for about 3 or 4 days. Sorry for the shaky. Just leave it like that. But anyway, I let it set for 3 or 4 days, and I put it back on the rifle. I was like, okay, cool, and everything. Well, I put it back in the box and everything. And about a week later, I went to get it out to go shooting, and it had what looked like to be orange peel, like all over it. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch, what the hell is that? Well, I didn't let it sit and cure long enough. So basically, the foam padding in the case basically imprinted on the stock. So I had messaged the guy at Block Customers, and I told him what was going on. And he said when he first started out, he had the same issue. And he said basically, after you get it done the way you want it, you basically need to let it sit for, 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the condition, like depending on temperature and humidity and all that. So I was like, well, shit, so I ended up having to, sand it down to where it was fairly smooth again. And then I did that, and after I got my desired color again, I pretty much put the stock set in an area, that was dust free and everything, and at room temperature. And I basically let it sit there for, I think it was about probably almost a month. And then I went ahead and got it out, and I noticed, okay, it's cool. It's good to go. So that's one thing, like I said, that it is a long process if you want a good finish and everything. But like I mentioned, I'll get into the shellac thing here shortly. But most of y'all have seen this before I decided to refinish the stock. But this was the way I was wanting to go. And I want to SBR this, so I have contacted a few places that do NFA trust. So hopefully, it's not going to cost a fortune. And maybe in the future, I will be SBRing this thing. And but yeah, okay. And like I mentioned in my other video, the parts video, I showed these parts. It took less than 10 minutes to put this on, this detent. And I had to do a little bit of filing on the plunger because it had a few burrs on it and it wasn't going into the chamber properly. Then the itty bitty tiny roll pin that you can kind of see right there. That was a bitch trying to get it started. But once it was started, it went right on in. And what I did was to hold the plunger in the proper spot because there's a notch. I just screwed this on until it held it in place, and then I tapped in the roll pin, and I plunged it a little bit. It was free make sure it was working fine. It was free, and just went ahead and put that on. But yeah, that's I like these. These things work amazing. If you're shooting at night, it is very effective flash hider, so it won't blind you. But again, I got the detent and the Bulgarian style flash hider from AK Builder. And but anyway, I'm gonna go set this down, and then I will be right back to talk about shellac. Okay, so here is the shellac that I used. It's right here. And this is the place, if you want to get shellac, you get it, shellac.net. Pause and read, pause and read. Garnett de-wax shellac. And it's basically like these flakes. And actually, this stuff comes from a bug, the lac bug. They're mainly from India, Asia type areas, and different bugs produce different types of shellac. It depends on the tree sap that they eat and secrete. Basically, it's what they secrete, and what they do is they secrete almost like a tunnel and stuff where they can feed on the tree, without having predators attack them. But and then this is alcohol soluble, so you would want to use this denatured alcohol. And then there's what's called the pound cut. This is my finished shellac, and it's good to date, because this stuff is it has its prime. I mean, I've used older shellac that it does pretty good, but they say it's best to use it like within 3 or 4 months. But I went with let's see. But anyway, basically, pause and read too. This is a mixing. You have a 1 pound cut, 2 pound cut, 3 pound cut. And basically, what I did was I went with a 2 pound cut, and which that is a pint. So I went with a 1/4 pound of the flake and 16 fluid ounces of the alcohol, the denatured alcohol. And you mix that. It's best to, the de-wax shellac ain't as bad as some of the regular shellac. Some of the other shellac, it's best to basically grind it up in like one of those little like a coffee grinder or something, and it dissolves a lot quicker. And then after it's dissolved thoroughly, then I take it and I pour it into another container through cheesecloth, and that gets out any impurities or whatever. So, but and you also do not want to use any kind of metal to store this in. That's why I'm using these canning jars. Sometimes the shellac and the alcohol will react to the metal of the can, and that will cause problems with your shellac. But like I mentioned before, I used the 2 pound cut, pint jar, 1/4 pound of dried flake, and then 16 fluid ounces of alcohol. And this de-wax shellac was pretty much it was pretty much dissolved and everything, probably within like 24 hours. And I would shake it up periodically and everything. And that's because I didn't grind it up. I just used the shellac. So let me see if I can open this up and kind of give you an idea. Trying to do this one-handed is freaking hard. But anyway, if you can see it, it's just like these little bitty flakes. It's fairly light. But basically, you mix this with the alcohol and it dissolves. The de-wax stuff dissolves pretty fast, like I mentioned, within 24 hours. And then I'm strain it through cheesecloth into another canning jar, and it's good to go. And originally I had used, some pieces of cut up T-shirts and stuff like that, but trying to cut it, the stuff dries pretty quick. Since this alcohol dries really quick when it hits the air, I was getting not desired results, so I ended up using a nylon paintbrush, and it worked way better. I got larger coverage area in quicker time, and it ended up working out. But anyway, that's it. I mean, if you decide to do shellac, it's time consuming, but it's really the results you get can be really nice. I redid my Moe's and Nagant on this stuff too. But anyway, again, shellac.net. If you want to try it, they have tons of shellac, and you can get blonde shellac, which is basically a lighter color, obviously, and then you can get the dyes, the alcohol soluble dyes, and you can pretty much make any color you want. Which I might end up doing one of my stocks, the iodine orange, which is pretty nice looking. But yeah, shellac.net if you would like to do it yourself. And there's a lot of information on this website. Basically, the history of shellac, and then all the different types and all processes, and it's great information. Or if you don't really want to mess with it yourself, you can order stock sets, like I mentioned, from Block Customs. I'll try to leave information down below for Block Customs. But they have some amazing stock sets. And I'm not sure how much they are. I'm sure they're not cheap, but if you're looking for something, original for your AK looking stocks, then that should be good. But anyway, this is almost 17 and a half minutes long. Need to probably cut this off. Anyway, I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe only if you want to. Until next time, this is Metal Trooper 62 saying see ya.